Hey, thanks for joining me in this conversation with Stella. I had spent a long weekend with Stella in Clovis, California. And if you've ever been to Clovis, California, you know when I say how beautiful it is. As Stella picked me up at the airport and we were driving through California and then up to where Stella lives and the property that she owns, you know, we're going up into the mountains, or the foothills is what Stella would call them. It was an amazing ride and just so refreshing. And I needed some time. I needed some rest time. I was going on a short Shabbat, Sabbath, if you will, because I needed to go into some rest. I could tell that my soul was longing for some rest and to get away from technology, get away from the cement, get away from just the busyness of life, because there's some things that I'm leaning into. There's things that I'm wanting to do and that I know that I'm being called to do. And so I needed to step into this pruning, if you will. I needed to environmentally engineer my life and put some things into my life to where I could prune some things away and really clean off and get clear on where I'm going. Now, that leads me into this conversation with Stella. Stella and I have known each other for, a handful of years now. And when I first met her, I was in love. I mean, she's an amazing, amazing person. And, she's a botanist. I mean, she studies plants and trees, and she can tell you all kinds of things about them. She also is moving into a more of her own. She's getting clearer on her vision and moving more into her own vision. The land that she owns is perfect for her vision and where she's wanting to go. As far as she creates oils, healing oils. She does massage therapy. She's wanting to put on her land. She hasn't been there very long, but she's wanting to put on her land a space to grow some healthy fruits, vegetables, that sort of thing, so that she can sell back to the market. And I loved being on her land. She also wants to have, some bees to, of course, produce honey. But there's also another thing about bees that she was telling me about, and how the vibration that the bees in a beehive that the bees create can actually bring healing to your physical body when you lay on top of the structure that the bees are held in. That buzz in there, that vibration in there brings healing to your body. I mean, it's just, so she's all about healing. So when we were talking, and we were talking about pruning plants and that sort of thing, she goes into more detail about it. And who better of a person to talk to about this than her? Now, when I share this with you, of course, some of you guys know from the talk that we had here just recently about the pruning process and about how you look at your vision. You have your vision, you have it written down, you're bringing clarity to it. And so when we prune something in our life, we prune towards the vision, because that's what the vine dressers do with their vineyards. They look at their vineyard and they think, what's the vision? What is the vision that I have for this vineyard? And then they start pruning towards the vision, with plants. And it's the same thing with us. We have to look at our vision, and we have to think about, what are those things in my life that I need to prune to move me towards my vision in a healthier way. So anyway, hence my reason for going to California and spending a long weekend with Stella. So have a listen and enjoy, and by all means, give me your feedback. All right, so here I am out in Clovis. Oh, hi. Lupa wanted to say hi. Can you hear the crickets? And the wind chime. And just to describe it, looking off into the distance, there's a city way, way, way over there on the other side of the mountains, because we're up high on the on this mountain. Well, in Kansas, we would call it a mountain.
Oh, yeah, foothills.
Foothills, is that what you call it? Is the
Yeah.
foothills. Okay. And we're sitting here talking about dreaming and just leaning into those dreams that we have. And so, Stella, I want you to go back, because earlier today we were talking about, I was sharing with you about the whole pruning, the pruning process, and just what I was learning from Dr. Henry Cloud, and how he went out to a vineyard and learned how you prune towards a vision. And then he used the example of the rose bushes, and pruning, off even good branches. And you had said, there's buds that I've pruned, and, that sort of thing. And with you being, a plant person in your beautiful garden and growing all kinds of stuff and making oils out of flowers and different types of plants for healing and medicinal purposes, so you have an understanding of that. So, do you want to share a little bit about that? And then I have some other questions too, but
yeah. Sure. When you think about what the vision looks like, what potentially the curator of the vineyard sees as the vision of the vine, it kind of has to do with energy and where that energy is flowing and where that energy is going to be efficient for future harvests, future loads, workloads, loads of fruit, burdens, whatever those loads are going to be. It's as if the farmer can imagine what that would be like. And then you kind of adjust the limbs accordingly. Same with like letting light in is a big aspect of the pruning.
Oh, yeah.
To let enough light in, but not too much light.
Why not too much light?
It can get sunburnt if it's a young tree.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about that earlier, and we were talking about the pruning process, and then you started talking about your current job situation. I was like, wow, okay, there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot that's happening right now. So you're in this process of, really looking at what you would love to do, what you would really enjoy doing. Yeah. So start there. Like with the whole.
But that's interesting too, because I wouldn't have correlated that process with the pruning process necessarily. Because I thought I was done with the pruning, but.
Well, hold on. Tell about the pruning dream. I love this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in my dream, it was God and I were gardening this rose bush. Had to be pruned by me. I was pruning it, and I was really pruning it back real hard. And God was just laughing at me and reminding me, hey, you got to keep a couple of there's got to be something that grows here. Like, don't just take it all down. Like, I get it. You see what we're going for, but leave something to grow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, because sometimes we just want to go in and shave it all.
Yeah.
Like, let me just, while I'm in this process, and while I'm in the mode of like pruning and shaving and this and that, let me just tear it all down.
Yeah, and sometimes it has to stay as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta have
it's like
something
that
to grow
old
up out of
growth.
it.
Yeah, it's like that. Some of the new ideas can get loopy. It's time to bark at satellites. Yeah, we can get over happy with the pruning shears sometimes.
I think I think we go from one extreme to the other, right? I mean, no, I may need that. I don't want to cut that off, or I don't want to get rid of that.
Yeah, to throwing it all in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you did the pruning process, or you went through that phase and got some revelation around the whole pruning process. So here you are, fast forward, and you're like, you have these two things that you're looking at. And yeah, so tell us about that part of the process.
I guess if I were to put it into like the pruning perspective, pruning idea. Lupin, God forbid we give you cheese once, right? Oh gosh. Okay. If I were to be asked why I pruned those branches I recently pruned, I would say the fruit maturing, or it was just taking too much energy out of the plant itself. If you think about why would you cut off all that fruit on a branch? It's like it sucks too much energy. And it's actually going to weaken all the other fruit and make them less than.
Right, yeah.
So even though this branch has fruit on it, doesn't mean it needs to be there.
Right, for sure. So how did you stir up, or how did the stir up come of the massage therapy and all of that? When did that enter into the picture? So you're doing these two other things, or this other thing, and then you're looking at, this seasonal thing that you've done for a long time.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the healing aspect of the massage. I think that's ultimately like what the undertone of my life is facilitating healing and potentially facilitating connection between people and plants, or people in the earth, or people in themselves, whatever that healing is going to come through, because we know what the source of the healing is. So helping people connect into that. And I think just as you ask yourself questions like, what is my dream? What do I want? Like, those are kind of scary questions.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when you don't have the answer. That's kind of the scariest part of it. But over time it starts to develop, and you just kind of choose to send your energy that way. Like, could it work if I did this? Or what would it look like if I did this?
Right. Yeah. So as of late, you've been, so you made the one decision to like, yeah, I'm not going to go back and do this seasonal thing again. Yeah. So talk a little bit about that and how it rolled into the other.
Ooh, how I made that choice, or maybe ask that in a different way.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand.
So you're in the process of unpacking your dream, because like you recognize that you were in this that you had a desire and you had a longing to do this healing, and it was coming out in different ways, right? I mean, like you create these oils out of plants. So there's two things: the healing aspect of oils, and then your love for plants and growing plants and flowers and this and that, but then also too working with the earth, and because of your identity and how you how you have such a love for the land and the earth. I mean, and look, I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful land up in the hills, and you have all these dreams for, I'm going to put this there and I'm going to develop that there, and and so, and I mean, and that's a whole nother topic in and of itself. But so, based on you realizing more about who you are and that healing aspect, so then based on what I understand about your story, so then you're like, okay, all right, so this massage thing seems to fit. It seems to bring some healing. It seems to fit at this point in time. But I'm doing these other things. And so how did that...
Oh, okay.
So you get to that point of the intersection or whatever, or on the timeline.
Yeah, it's like I saw a window, an opportunity. It's like you choose, right?
Yeah.
So out of my choice to say no to one thing, you do say yes to something else. In a way, because you're like, well, now what am I going to do? I just quit both jobs in the same week.
Yeah, so talk about that, what we referred to as being a trick earlier.
Yeah. I quit one job thinking I'm going to go to another job, like a seasonal thing. And then I actually chose to quit the seasonal thing.
That had to have been really hard to make that decision,
very, very
knowing
hard. Yeah.
knowing you just gave notice to the other job.
Yeah. But like once you jump into the deep end with God, once you've done that before, it's not as scary the second time around.
Because you're getting practice at it. Yeah.
You practice. And you know that you recognize the feeling, you recognize the pattern, you recognize the window. You're like, oh, this is a window to jump through. This is like a time portal. This is what
Right.
an opportunity looks like.
Right.
Like, opportunities are scary. Like, it's potentially scary to follow your dreams. I don't know if it's ever easy.
Right.
I don't know. I have never done this before.
Right.
It's my first time around.
Yeah, it's getting comfortable in the unknown. And would you say that it's helped you increase your trust in God?
Yeah, I'd say so. Because, and trust in myself too, honestly, because that's where I am it's a lot of trust in myself.
Yeah.
Because I do trust God. And that's why I can let go of so much. And that's interesting. I've trusted the letting go process a lot more than I've trusted the receiving process.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
So I've let go of a lot of things, and I've been okay not to receive.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what's different about this, is I'm letting go, but I'm expecting to receive.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened last time, is I received unexpectedly. So
you have this regular full-time position, and then you have this seasonal position. And so you gave your notice at your regular full-time position to do the seasonal position, and then you get to making that decision, and what happens?
Then I'm in limbo. First thing I did is I told my full-time position that I gave my notice for my short term, so now I quit both jobs. And he invited me back right away. And the first thing I said was, I have to follow my dreams. I said, if not now, like, this is when I have to do it. I don't see when I'm going to get another chance for this.
Like, that's amazing. Yes.
Yeah, and it's so helpful to have their support, Yeah. Because I'm not doing it by myself. I have my family support and my community support. Like, all my friends support me in the sense of, like, yeah, now's the time, you could do it,
Right.
And so if I can't trust, of course I can trust them. They walk with me.
Yeah.
Just like God walks with me and I walk with him. Like, I think convincing myself that I can trust myself seems to be the hard part. But I'm learning to do that too.
Right, for sure. And we think it's so risky. Like, on the front end part of it, it's like, oh God, am I really going to do this?
Yeah.
Am I really going to take this risk? And then once we step in and make the decision, and you hop over that hurdle, then it's like crazy stuff happens.
Yeah.
It looks crazy to us.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we can make it up in our minds how, oh my God, this is so big. This is such a big decision. Mm-hmm. And we're not responsible for the how.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're supposed to be unpacking our dreams, if we're supposed to write the vision down and make it plain, and if we're supposed to be like tapping into that, you know what? It's up to God to bring the how.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you did both these jobs at the same time. Okay. So then.
Well, and what I do want to say, what's interesting about the whole, because I said I wouldn't necessarily have thought of it as pruning.
Yeah.
But it definitely is, because choosing to step away from something for a season, so you can see that as pruning a branch off, that totally redirected the flow of energy.
Yeah, that's good.
Other things. So towards the fruit that I have remaining on the branches. Like, hello, let's look at that, Like, okay, we get it. You chopped one of the branches off. That's painful, but also all of that energy now is flowing where it needs to flow. And that feels really good.
I love the way you say that, because flow can be a little bit challenging to understand. What do you mean by flow? What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be hard to, how do I get into that flow? So how would you answer that? How
to get into it?
Yeah.
I suppose follow your heart. Be aware. Make a choice and see where that choice, how it feels. I mean, I tend to use words like feeling, because that's how I feel the flow. Mm-hmm. Some people might see it or sense it, or I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe just even, like I like to use the term, an experiment. Just try an experiment.
Yeah.
Just take a small chunk and experiment with it.
And like you say, use your good feedback loops that are secured for you, that you know are trusted and secure. Mm-hmm. Put some feelers out. See what,
Yeah.
see what the energy is like on it. Your friends will often be the ones that reciprocate that energy for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in my case. It was just very high energy, high excitement. Yeah, and I took that to be a positive thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it doesn't have to be excitement. Like, it doesn't have to come across like that, but it could be a peace. It could be...
Yeah, when you're stepping into, when you're realizing... It's got to go after that peacock over there.
Yeah.
But when you're stepping into...
She's barking at the airplane.
Oh. She's not used to airplanes out here. But when you're stepping into something that, you're like, it may be a little bit new or different or whatever. It could have been under the surface for quite some time, but maybe you just didn't want to look at it deeper because of fear of disappointment.
Oh, for sure.
Or that's hard.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's really tough. But there was a situation that happened the other day with a friend of mine and I, and she was talking about something, in her life that was coming up, and you could see the change in her energy. You could visibly see and feel the change in her energy. Yeah. And it was like I had to call her out on it, so that she could actually, lean into it and, wow, do I really feel this way? And stop and pay attention to that energy. Yeah. Recognize that energy. Yeah. Recognize that feeling of, oh my gosh, there really is something on this.
Yeah.
This is really a thing. I think I really do like this. And so paying attention to those things, or the reverse of that, this feels like...
the opposite of that.
Right. And to slow down and just really think through and pay attention to what we're thinking about and pay attention to what we're feeling.
Yeah, and the other thing I actually practice when actually pruning like a real tree, not like one in the spirit, but a real one, gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
Thanking the tree, explaining to the tree what's happening. Hey, I'm going to just move some energy around. Like, that type of talk goes a long way, I guess, probably for yourself too. But
right.
With the tree, just acknowledging and gratefulness and not pruning out of spite. It's like, that's not why we're doing this,
Yeah.
So, I think I do go through that process too with, I guess reflecting on the spirit, what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like you were talking about, going through that process and honoring, how it was there in the past for a particular reason or for a particular purpose. But now, now it's time.
Yeah.
we were talking the other night about Ecclesiastes, in Ecclesiastes 3, and about how there's a time for this, there's a time for that, there's a time for birth, there's a time for death, and so, honoring that we've had in the past, but now it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to, this served its purpose for a while. So I can see where, like, when we talk about your, your position and how you fed into another man's vision, you were there to support that family with their business, and how beautiful that is, and how you helped increase their business. And there's potential for you to continue on, but in a different type of, it's almost like it's been recalibrated.
Yeah, that's a good word.
And so there still could be income coming from that, but in a way that you love more.
Yeah.
And providing them with certain types of, herbs and flowers and, that sort of thing that you love to do. But would that have really bubbled up if you weren't ready to step away and look at it differently and choose to, like, you know what, it's time for me to make a shift and a change here?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. So, okay, so then, yeah, so what happened next?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think also one of the things, because I sat on the fence for a long time, and that place of indecision's not fun. So even when I made the decision first, my decision was to continue on business as usual. But I didn't have any peace on that, didn't feel like the right decision. So also, and that's kind of changing your mind, being like, actually, no, we're going to do this other thing. And I think you do that when you're looking at a tree and pruning it. It's like you hold the branches and you're looking like, does it flow this way? Does it flow this way? What if I do this? What if I cut this one?
Yeah.
I'm going to cut this one. That means I have to cut this one and this one. So there is some contemplation time in that decision, even if you've made a decision. Like, to change your mind is okay.
Right. Yeah, that's really good.
Because you're still working with energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And when sometimes it can create a domino effect.
Yeah.
And am I really going to make that decision and create all those dominoes?
Well, and that's what I did, as I did a domino thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's good.
So okay, so you make this decision.
Yeah.
And now you had this longing, right? Is that the right word to use?
Sure.
A longing for this other thing, to the point to where this longing was driving you to take some risks?
Yeah. I mean, risks in the sense of doing something totally new and different.
Well, yeah, because you have a mortgage to pay and you're going to walk away from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a way I walk away from a secure paycheck, but I think the walking away process it can look any way you want it to look. Like, if there's that trusting relationship between the two parties involved, like me and the owner of this place, like, the walking away process can look different. It doesn't have to be just overnight boom and gone, you know? And so allowing room for that,
that's good.
But also allowing the idea that it could be a very fast transition. Like, I'm used to slow transitions. I'm like, okay, Estelle, we're going to do this super slow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sometimes it needs to be fast. You rip the Band-Aid off and you go.
Right.
Like, how else do people do it? People set up businesses and go for their dreams all the time. How do they do that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it the way I know how.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know another way other than just going for it. And it's nice that the people that I work for love me and I love them. And there is grace in that.
Yeah.
What that could look like. And I think that's just God being favorable to me and to them.
Yeah, for sure. But then there's also that part where, aside from, God's part, you did your part.
I did.
Yeah, you worked with high integrity.
Yeah.
You were focused on helping them increase their vision.
Yeah.
Increase their business. And it's grown from, what did you say? 2 employees to 10 employees.
Yeah.
A whole nother location.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing growth. And at first, when they first hired you, they were like, okay, not sure about this, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then, dang, what if they didn't? What if they didn't hire you?
Yeah.
So, so here you are, and then you get this text.
Oh, about the client list?
Yes!
Okay.
That's like
that's the charity right now. Yeah. Yeah, I got offered, a friend of mine text messaged me saying his, pardon my dog. Yeah, just the flow of things. I'm like, how do you make this happen? What's it gonna look like? All these things, being okay in that unknown. Yeah, what that looked like for me is I got a text message yesterday where a friend said, hey, my massage therapist is getting ready to retire. Would you like to take over her client list? She's been working in the area for 25 years.
Holy cow. So her client list is sizable.
Yeah.
And look at that.
And they're like, yeah, she's excited to meet you. Let's set it up. That happened yesterday.
Wow. You can't make that stuff up.
You can't. So I'm like willing to put myself out there, find a space, do this, go do some footwork, and then here it comes at me in a different way.
Yeah, it's like we have to we have to do our part.
Yeah.
We have to do what we know to do.
That's right.
Right? And we have to lean into curiosity. Well, what about this? Well, what about that?
Yeah, the curiosity, I think, is a big one.
It is big. And turning over the stones. Like, is it under this stone? Is it... Now, sometimes that can become works. And, we can try to trust in our own strength in turning over all of these stones. But, we have to do our part and we co-labor.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will think that it's just all up to God. Which... I mean, yes, we co-labor with God, but if we didn't do our part, some things wouldn't happen, though, either.
Yeah.
But we know and we trust that, God's got the how. We don't have to figure out the how. Mm-mm. You probably couldn't have figured out in a million years that this guy was going to send you a text. And say, hey, this lady has a book of business for you, basically.
Yeah, here you go.
It was like, bam.
Yeah.
All because you were willing to take a risk and lean into what you'd really enjoy doing in life.
Yeah.
And because you know what? Our spirits know. It's just a matter of us being willing to align ourselves, our thoughts and our actions with our truest self, with our spirit.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be scary, but not partnering with fear. Like, those are something being scary and having fear are two different things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because sometimes that fear can actually motivate.
Sure.
Motivate change.
Oh, sure.
And sometimes when people are challenged, there's something over there, and she's gonna get it.
It's the airplane. She barks at I'm not even kidding.
Aww.
Satellites and airplanes.
They're unknown to her.
Unknown.
Oh my gosh. Well, but it is interesting though how sometimes when people perceive a bad thing, like, oh, I just lost my job. Well, maybe.
Oh, the things that can open up.
Oh, for sure.
Well, everything opened up as soon as I closed the door too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting how that happens when you're willing to, like, okay, I'm going to close this door and I'm going to
Because energetically it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I think when you're a bit more mature, you can kind of choose that direction instead of letting it be chosen for you, potentially.
Yeah. Well, no, that's really good, because we can either design it, or it can be designed for us based on our default method. You know what I mean? Like, you just fall into default.
And what's interesting is my default option was presented to me.
Wow.
That was the interesting part, was within 2 days I had a default option present to me. And it was a nice offer.
Right.
And that's fine. And if I choose to default to that, that's fine. It's not good or bad. It's however, there's more. Like, and that's what I'm pressing into, is
there is more.
The more. What does that look like? Like you say, the curiosity. What does it look like? I know what the other option looks like. I've been there with that programming. The default option, I can imagine that. What I can't imagine is what my dream looks like, and that to me is fascinating, because I think it's bigger than I can imagine, and that's what makes me curious.
Right. Yeah, that curiosity is a deal, and it drives energy into the what if. Wow, what if this is a real thing? And to be true to yourself, and to love yourself more and respect yourself more.
Yeah.
Dang it, I gotta try it.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this next step for you. And just just the way you've processed through this, and just the realization of, being able to dig out your dream and I think this is it. And being willing to, like, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, now you're probably more sure, obviously.
Yeah.
But back then you're probably like, I think this is it.
Yeah.
But as you continue to work with it and feel it and let it, germinate within you and develop within you, and let the universe or heaven or, however, point to it. That's the beauty.
Yeah. I mean, it'll amplify certain things for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We just have to, like, step out. Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you, Lupa.
Yeah, thanks for barking at us.
For your contribution. Yep. That's right. She had something to say. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.